All right, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that there's a way to hit a biological panic button, but in reverse? A way to shut down anxiety in as little as 30 seconds. Now, I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this is real, and it's based on this incredibly powerful, ancient reflex that's hardwired into our DNA. So today, we're going to unpack the science behind something called the ice dive.
I mean, we've all been there, right? That feeling where your anxiety just takes over. Your heart is pounding. Your thoughts are just racing in circles. You feel kind of hot and shaky. That's a state of hyperarousal. And a great way to think about it is like your body's fight or flight system has its foot slammed down on the gas pedal, and you just can't find the brake. Well, what if your body actually came with its own built-in emergency brake? A biological off switch that can slam the brakes on that whole process, pulling you right out of that spiral. And you know what the crazy part is? The trigger for it is, well, it's ridiculously simple. It's just cold water.
Okay, so how on earth does that even work? To really get it, we need to talk about this super deeply embedded survival instinct we all have. It's called the mammalian diving reflex, and this is really the key to understanding this incredible biological hack.
This reflex it's absolutely fascinating. Basically, it's a whole set of automatic changes that happen in your body the moment you're submerged in water. And get this, it's found in all air-breathing vertebrates. That means seals, dolphins, otters, and yes, us. It's this ancient, shared piece of our evolutionary story.
So, okay, sure, a seal or a dolphin has a way stronger version of this. But the point is, we all have it. It's in our code. In fact, it's really pronounced in human babies up to about 6 months old. It's just this fundamental part of our biology, something we're literally born with.
So, when this reflex kicks in, what's actually going on inside your body? Well, 3 major things happen, almost instantly. First, something called bradycardia. That just means your heart rate slows way down, sometimes by 10, even 25%. Second, you get peripheral vasoconstriction. Fancy term, but all it means is the blood vessels in your arms and legs get narrower, which shunts all that oxygen-rich blood to the most important places, your brain and your heart. And the result of all that? It's this incredibly efficient way to conserve oxygen.
And that right there is the whole point. This isn't just some weird, quirky little reaction our bodies have. No, it's a deep, profound survival mechanism. It's literally designed to keep you alive underwater by making sure your body is using its resources in the absolute best way possible.
Okay, but wait a minute. How does just putting cold water on your face send a message all the way to your heart telling it to slow down? Well, that message travels along a super important piece of your body's wiring, a sort of biological superhighway called the vagus nerve.
This nerve it's incredible. It's the longest nerve in your body, and it's basically the main controller for your rest and digest system. You know, that's the part of your nervous system that calms you down, the opposite of fight or flight. It's the part that says, hey, everything's okay, you can relax now.
Yeah, there's this great analogy from Dr. Easton Gaines that I think just nails it. They call it the body's internal communication highway. And that's perfect, right? It's this massive cable running from your brain down to your gut, your heart, your lungs, just constantly sending messages back and forth to keep everything in balance.
And this is where it all comes together. Turns out there are all these nerves in your face, especially right around your eyes, cheeks, and nose, that are directly plugged in to this vagus nerve highway. So when they feel that cold water, bam, they send this powerful signal straight up to your brainstem. And your brainstem's response, it tells the vagus nerve, all right, time to hit the brakes. It's a direct physical trigger for an immediate calming response.
All right, so that's the science, the why it works. Pretty cool, right? But now let's get down to brass tacks. How can you actually use this thing? How do you tap into this powerful reflex when you're feeling completely overwhelmed?
This is the classic way to do it. And honestly, it couldn't be simpler. First, you just fill a big bowl with some cold water and ice. Now, this next part's really important. You're gonna take a nice deep breath and hold it. Then, just submerge your face in the water. You really wanna make sure you get that whole area around your eyes and cheeks underwater, because that's where those key nerve endings are.
And that's pretty much it. You don't have to be a free diver or anything. We're not talking minutes here. Just 15 to 30 seconds is usually all it takes to kickstart that reflex and literally feel your heart rate start to come down.
But okay, what happens if you're at work or out somewhere and you don't have a giant bowl of ice water handy? No problem, you can totally improvise. You could press a cold pack or even a couple of cold soda cans from a vending machine right over your eyes and cheekbones. Even just splashing your face with cold water from a sink can do the trick. The key thing is just cooling down that specific area while holding your breath.
Okay, now before you go sprinting to your freezer, we have to talk about something really, really important. There's a crucial distinction to make here. See, the goal is to trigger that nice calming diving reflex, but there's another reflex that can get in the way, and this one, well, it's a lot less helpful.
Let's break this down, because this is critical. You've got two different things that can happen. On one side, you have the diving reflex. Remember, that's triggered by cooling your face while holding your breath, and the result is your heart rate goes down. On the other side, though, you have something called the cold shock response. This is triggered by any sudden cold exposure, like jumping into a cold lake, and it does the exact opposite. Your heart rate spikes and your body gets a jolt of adrenaline.
And this is why you have to be careful, because this technique can sometimes backfire. If you're already feeling super anxious, that jolt from the cold shock can feel exactly like the panic you're already feeling. That racing heart, that gasp for air. So instead of calming you down, it could actually make everything feel a whole lot worse.
And look, because this technique has such a direct and rapid effect on your heart, we have to be crystal clear about the safety warnings. So please listen very carefully. If you have any kind of heart condition, a history of an eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia, or even an allergy to cold, you should not try this without talking to your doctor first, period. And just to be clear, this is not medical advice. We're simply explaining a known physiological process.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the mammalian diving reflex is, without a doubt, a seriously powerful tool that's built right into your biology for calming your nervous system down. But, and this is a big but, it is not a universal cure-all. It's not a magic bullet. To use it effectively and, more importantly, safely, you have to understand both the science and the potential risks.
You know, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Our bodies are carrying around all this ancient programming, designed for a world that looks nothing like the one we live in now. And it just begs the question, what other incredible survival reflexes like this one are just hiding there, in plain sight, waiting for us to rediscover them as tools for our modern lives?
All right, quick reset. Blink twice, stretch your shoulders, and don't worry, your health lesson isn't over yet. We're switching gears now, but this next topic is just as important for your body. And if you care about staying healthy the smart way, make sure you're subscribed.
You know, we spend so much time and energy thinking about what we're eating. But what if the biggest lever you could pull for your energy wasn't about the food itself, but the order you eat it in? I know, it sounds almost too simple to be true, but the science behind it is absolutely powerful. And getting this right, it could be the difference between that dreaded afternoon slump and having clear, focused energy after every single meal. Okay, tell me if this sounds familiar. You have a really satisfying lunch, maybe some pasta or a sandwich, whatever, and you feel great. But then, an hour later, bam, the slump hits. You're fighting to keep your eyes open at your desk, you can't focus, and your brain is just screaming for a cookie or something sweet to power through. Well, guess what? That feeling isn't just in your head.
There's actually a scientific name for it, reactive hypoglycemia, but you probably know it better as the sugar crash. It's a very real physical response. It happens when your blood glucose takes a nosedive after a meal that's heavy on the carbs. That foggy, irritable feeling, that isn't a lack of willpower. Your body is literally on a biological roller coaster.
For decades, all the advice has been about calories or macros or cutting out entire food groups, but we've been missing a huge piece of the puzzle. It turns out that the sequence of those macros, the order you eat your protein, fat, and carbs in, has a profound impact on that glucose roller coaster. So look at this. A meal can basically go one of two ways. On the left, you have the standard approach, right? Eating the carbs first. Think about the bread basket at a restaurant. That hits your system like a ton of bricks, causing a huge glucose spike and then the crash that's sure to follow. But on the right, by simply changing the sequence of the exact same food, you can completely flatten that curve. So how on earth does that actually work? Well, the secret is a really cool but simple concept, building what some researchers call a fiber shield. This is the core mechanism that makes this whole food sequencing thing so incredibly effective. And the best part is, it's remarkably easy to do.
So imagine this. When you eat vegetables first, all that fiber creates this kind of viscous, gel-like mesh that coats the lining of your upper intestine. This mesh literally acts as a buffer, a shield that physically slows down how quickly any sugars and starches you eat afterwards get absorbed into your bloodstream. Then, when you eat your protein and fats, that slows down how fast your stomach empties its contents. It's an amazing 1-2 punch against a sudden sugar rush.
But it gets even cooler, because it's not just a physical barrier. There's a powerful hormonal response happening too. Now, this diagram might look a little complex, but the key takeaway is right here. Eating protein and fiber first triggers your gut to release a hormone called GLP-1. Just think of GLP-1 as an air traffic controller for sugar. It basically tells your body, hey, glucose is on the way, which gives your pancreas a heads up so it can handle the incoming sugar much more efficiently. You're essentially giving your body a critical warning.
And if that wasn't enough, there's another awesome benefit. This whole strategy also helps manage ghrelin, which you might know as our main hunger hormone. See, when you eat a bunch of carbs first, your ghrelin levels can shoot back up pretty quickly after the meal, making you feel hungry again way too soon. But by starting with protein and veggies, ghrelin stays suppressed for much longer. You just feel fuller and more satisfied for hours.
And look, this isn't just some wellness fad. This is backed by solid published clinical research. This quote here is from Dr. Alpana Shukla at Weill Cornell Medicine, who's a leading researcher in this exact field. Her studies have shown just how significant this effect is. So let's actually look at the data. The difference is, well, it's pretty stark. On the left, you see that massive glucose spike when people ate their carbs first, and on the right, the exact same meal, just with a dramatically smaller spike because they ate the carbs last. But just how dramatic are we talking? Let's break down the actual numbers from the study.
Okay, check this out. In Dr. Shukla's key study, when participants ate protein and vegetables before their carbohydrates, their glucose levels just 30 minutes after the meal were already 29% lower.
And by the 60-minute mark, an hour in, the effect was even bigger, a 37% reduction in that glucose spike.
And here it is, this is the showstopper. The total glucose exposure, the total amount of sugar hitting their system over the entire 2-hour period was reduced by a massive 73%. I mean, this isn't a tiny tweak, this is a fundamental change in your body's response to the exact same meal. And I really want to stress this point. This is an incredibly powerful tool for everyone. Yes, the initial research focused on people with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, but follow-up studies have shown that perfectly healthy people also see huge benefits. We're talking more stable energy, better focus, and fewer cravings for all of us.
All right, so how do you actually put this into practice? It could not be simpler. It's a 3-step plan. Step 1, vegetables first. Get that fiber shield going. Start with a salad, some broccoli, any non-starchy vegetable. Step 2, protein and fats. This is your meat, fish, tofu. This helps with satiety and that awesome hormonal response. And then finally, step 3, bring in the starches and sugars last.
And the best part is, you don't have to cook some complicated new meal. It's just about deconstructing what's already on your plate. Instead of mixing everything together, you just eat the side salad before you even touch the pasta. You eat the chicken and broccoli before you start on the rice. It is such a small behavioral shift, but it has a huge metabolic payoff.
Okay, but let's be real. Is this actually something you can stick with in the real world? Well, researchers looked into that. They followed a group of people for 16 weeks, and guess what? Almost 3/4 of them said the strategy was easy to follow. So this isn't some burdensome, restrictive diet. It's a simple habit that just slides right into your daily life.
And that right there, that simplicity, is its superpower. Dr. Shukla herself emphasizes that because this strategy is so easy to do, it has the potential to be a massive public health tool, something that could help prevent countless people from progressing from prediabetes to type 2 diabetes.
So, the big takeaway here really comes down to one word: empowerment. This isn't another restrictive diet telling you all the things you can't have. This is a strategy that lets you enjoy the foods you already love just by being a little more mindful of the sequence. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your own energy and your metabolic health.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. As you get ready for your next meal, just consider this. What if the single most impactful health decision you can make isn't about swapping out ingredients, but simply changing the order you eat them in? Give it a try, see how you feel. I think you'll be pretty amazed.
All right, quick reset. Blink twice, stretch your shoulders, and don't worry, your health lesson isn't over yet. We're switching gears now, but this next topic is just as important for your body. And if you care about staying healthy the smart way, make sure you're subscribed.
Let's talk about something amazing that happens inside your head every single night. We're going to dive into this fascinating process and uncover how one super simple tweak to how you sleep could be a total game changer for your brain's health in the long run.
Okay, let's just start with a question I think pretty much everyone can relate to. You ever get a full night's sleep, 7-8 hours, but you wake up feeling fuzzy, groggy, slow, just not quite on your game?
That feeling is brain fog, and it turns out it might be more than just a feeling.
Now, this might sound a little wild, but a growing pile of research suggests that when you feel that fog, it's not just that your brain is tired. It might literally be, well, dirty, clogged up with all the waste it made during the day.
So how in the world does a brain even get dirty? It sounds pretty strange, I know, but it all comes down to realizing just how insanely hard our brain is working, all day, every day.
Think about this for a second. Your brain is just this tiny little part of your body weight, right? Only about 2%. But it is an absolute energy hog. It burns through a quarter of all your body's energy. And all of that activity, all the thinking, the feeling, the processing, it generates a ton of metabolic junk.
And listen, we are not talking about harmless stuff here. Mixed in with all that waste are some really nasty characters you might have heard of, like amyloid beta and tau proteins. These are the proteins that, when they're not cleared out properly, can build up and are strongly linked to some really devastating neurodegenerative diseases, like Alzheimer's.
So this creates a huge biological puzzle. See, the rest of your body has this amazing, dedicated garbage disposal network called the Glymphatic System. But for the longest time, scientists were totally stumped because, well, the brain doesn't have one. So how on earth does it get rid of its own trash?
Well, the answer was only discovered about a decade ago, and it has completely rewritten our understanding of the brain. So let's meet the brain's exclusive VIP cleaning crew, the Glymphatic System.
The Glymphatic System is just a brilliant piece of biological design. It basically piggybacks on the brain's blood vessels, creating its own unique highway for waste removal. And here's the most important part. It does almost all of its heavy-duty cleaning only when you are sound asleep. So here's how this nightly power wash actually works. It's a really cool 4-step process. First, when you get into deep sleep, your brain cells literally shrink. Second, that shrinking opens up more space between them. Third, this allows cerebral spinal fluid, or CSF, to come rushing into these newly opened channels. And finally, that fluid acts like a river, washing through your brain tissue and flushing out all that gunk from the day.
And we're not talking about a small change here. During that deep sleep phase, the space between your brain cells expands by a staggering 60%. It's like turning a city's jam-packed streets during rush hour into a wide-open highway system at 3 in the morning, making it perfect for a deep clean. And this quote just perfectly captures the whole idea. Dr. Micah Nadergaard, one of the scientists who discovered this system, put it in a way that just clicks. During the day, your brain is busy entertaining guests, processing the world, keeping you awake. But at night, the party's over, and it's cleanup time. Your brain just can't do both at once.
So finding this out was huge. But of course, it immediately made scientists ask another really fascinating question. If the brain has this whole cleaning cycle, is there anything we can do to make it run better?
Is there a way to help it run a more efficient cycle? Could something we do, even something as simple as how we're lying down, actually affect how well our brain gets cleaned every night?
So a team at Stony Brook University decided, hey, let's find out. They used some really advanced MRI tech to actually watch this glymphatic system in action, this time in anesthetized rodents. They tracked the fluid flow while the animals were in 3 different sleep positions, on their stomach, on their back, and on their side.
And what they found, well, it was incredibly clear. Sleeping on the stomach, that was the least efficient for clearing out waste. Sleeping on the back was better, a definite improvement. But there was one position that was the undisputed champion of brain cleaning.
That's right, the lateral, or side sleeping position, was way more efficient at flushing waste out of the brain than either of the other two. It seems, at least for these rodents, that lying on their side was the absolute best way to optimize that glymphatic power wash. Okay, so a study on rodents is interesting, for sure. But what could this possibly mean for you and me? Let's try to connect some of these dots. Look, the stakes here are really, really high. When your glymphatic system is working well, it's clearing out those dangerous proteins we talked about, which is fantastic for your long-term brain health. But when it's not working well, that waste builds up, and scientists think that could be a major factor in diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Now, this is super important, so we have to pump the brakes just for a second. We have to add a note of scientific caution. As the lead researcher, Dr. Helene Benveniste, points out, these findings are in rodents. To know for sure if this is true for us, we absolutely need studies in humans. That's the critical next step. All right, so let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, deep sleep is absolutely essential for your brain's nightly housekeeping.
Second, this cleaning system, the glymphatic system, gets rid of toxic stuff linked to some nasty diseases. And third, while we still need human studies to confirm it, research in animals suggests that sleeping on your side might just be the best posture for the job.
So it really leaves you with a powerful thought, doesn't it? We put so much focus on things like diet and exercise and puzzles for brain health. But what if one of the biggest keys to keeping our minds sharp for the long haul is hidden in something as simple as how we lie down every single night? It's a fascinating question, and one that science is working hard to answer.
Thank you for your time. Subscribe for more health education. Like the video and share it to help others stay informed.